This is Joseph Brewer for ESFI, and I'm here with Infinity 7's Axslav at Lone Star Clash 2 in Austin, Texas. Axslav, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. The tournament's really fun. I love how we each have our own computers, so between rounds can try to practice up and get in shape for the next one.
Nice. How are you feeling so far about your performance this weekend? You fell to Stephano 0-2. Can you walk me more through those games, or is Stephano just unstoppable ZVP?
I don't think he's unstoppable at all. In fact, I actually thought his games versus me, it was one of the weaker Stephanos I've seen. Like he seemed a little bit off in his movements and strategy, but I just made a couple critical mistakes. I almost didn't anticipate some of the things he did, and I mean it was my builds. I think were fine. You know, they're mostly fast third builds or some weird, basically fast third builds, and. The first game, basically, he just did the roach attack, and I thought he was getting early speedlings and attacking behind it, so I built a wall that was designed to beat speedlings. And then my first Void Ray, I got a fast Void Ray that was there to scout and then see if he's getting roaches, but I accidentally sent it to the very top of the screen, and so I didn't see all the roaches until I got to my third, and my wall... when you see roaches, you got to make a different type of wall to beat roaches, and I didn't have that set up. So I lost the first game, and game really... if they go roaches these days, you shouldn't really lose this Protoss, I feel. So it's kind of a blunder on my part. Then game 2 was similar. I actually I scouted the fact that his hatchery was like super late, and I thought he was like going like a proxy hatch somewhere. So I was looking around all that, and for some reason it never occurred to me he'd go one base roach. And I mean it's kind of roach warm before second hatchery, and so I just got kind of off guard against that, which is something that's really another mistake that. It's something I didn't anticipate he'd do a build like that, because if I just made 2 more cannons, you know, it would have been an easy game for me. So, I mean, they weren't really that good games, and I think he felt a little bit off, but I was just even more off, so it worked out for him.
Okay. Well, you played the STC next man in the losers bracket. How do you feel going against him? Because, you know, he didn't really look as strong as people were probably expecting against his match against Baby Knight.
Yeah. I mean, Baby Knight's also a guy. He's been doing really, really well lately. Yeah. I mean, he did exceptionally well in the European qualifier on MLG, and then in MLG itself last week, he did very, very well. I think he was the third highest placing Protoss player in MLG, so very, and that was, I mean, above players like Liquid Hero and MC. So it wasn't actually a big surprise to me that he beat STC. He did make it look more convincing than I would have thought, and I'm not sure if STC was just not quite ready for an opponent as good as Baby Knight was, and maybe, you know, he's been practicing. Maybe he'll be better tonight. Hopefully not, though. But Tyrann's my worst matchup by a significant margin. So I've been actually practicing, trying to come up with a new build that might catch him off guard. And I'll definitely do that at least one of the games, and then we'll see if the other games try to just do, you know, standard timings. But I actually felt better against Stephano to do against SDC, just because I much prefer Zerg. So. But I'll hopefully make for some good games.
Nice. Were you prepared for this event coming into? I mean, you were a last-minute entry. You had the stuff that happened at MLG last week. DJ leaving, you filled in that role. Were you actually prepared for this event, and did you know ahead of time you were coming here, or was it last minute for you as well, like some of the people that found out when you were coming?
It was definitely last minute for me. Okay. I mean, I didn't get my flight until yesterday or Thursday morning, so I didn't really know what was going on until kind of last second there. And then also the week coming up to MLG, I work full-time for MLG, right. But the hurricane, all my computer setup is at the offices, and we ran out of power in offices because of the hurricane, so I wasn't able to practice it all that week. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not in the best shape I've been in. You know, like a couple weeks ago would have been better for me. But, you know, I can't pass up an opportunity to compete, and I'm still playing pretty close to how I play. Like, I was playing... well, except for like 2 weird scouting errors against Stephano. And, you know, I've been practicing more today, and I feel hopefully I'll be able to put a better performance up against STC.
Like you just said, you're with MLG full-time now. How are you liking it over there? You were just doing the casting for the MVP, and also last week at the MLG Fall Championship. What other things do you guys have in store at MLG for later on this year?
So I don't know our full details. I mean, basically, the couple days I worked after Dallas, I was just scanning through all the VODs of Dallas and trying to find out highlight moments. So we're going to get some highlight reels, you know, some top 10s, top 5s of different players, things like that we're going to be coming out with. And then, you know, after this tournament, I'm going to China for the Blizzard World Finals. And then after that, we're gonna have everyone at MLG has like a bunch of ideas they think are gonna be cool to produce, and so it's just gonna be probably gonna be a couple weeks before we see anything, because it's gonna be meetings and figuring out which ideas are the best ideas, and then we're gonna go forward with a couple of different maybe show ideas or tournament formats. A lot of us gonna be planning for the new year, so nothing's coming out super fast. But we've got a lot of ideas going around, and then we're going to see which ones we think will be the best for the new year.
Do you know if there might be another MLG MVP Pro League coming up anytime soon? Do you have any details about that by chance?
I don't know what we're going to do for tournament formats in the future. I know I would hope that we're going to do some more tournaments with those Pro League guys, because they're really, really good. But of course, they have busy schedules too. And then we want to get in some other players mixed in. So I don't know. I doubt we're going to do the exact same format of that. Yeah. We'll do something different, but hopefully we'll get those Pro League guys mixed in.
Nice. Well, have you been enjoying casting this last few months, and do you ever think you'll be transitioning to a full-time caster maybe sometime down the road in 2013, or is this just something you want to do right now?
I mean, well, I already work full-time for MLG, right. So I guess I'm pretty much full-time. But I still try to practice, at least 3 hours a day on the side. Now, I don't always get there. It depends on a day, but I try to stay competitive, but casting's definitely kind of the way I'm going. At least it's a larger portion of my time in a day than playing is. Although it does help, like watching other good players, it does help my playing abilities. And I think I can feel the rate I improve at casting is higher than I improve it at playing. Like every time I cast, I'm always noticing things to do better and better. And it's a similar story with playing, but it's harder to fix the errors in playing than it is in casting, I think.
Well, how does Infinity 7 feel about your casting? I mean, you just joined the team, fairly recently. You've been here a few months now, and they hired you on as a player, assumingly. So how do they feel about you doing casting more so now than playing?
I mean, I guess you'd have to ask them, because I know what they tell me, but Infinity 7, we're not like a super, we're not getting money out of players. We're not really getting big sponsorships. So it's almost a real friendly environment. And so, as long as I still play with the guys when I can and we're all friendly with each other, there's not the same expectations. Like when I joined Infinity 7, there weren't big expectations as far as certain time commitments as there would be with a team like EG, where they're paying their players a lot of money. So it's not. It's still like in the growing stages as a team. So I guess they're not. They don't really know the direction, I guess, that we want to take it. Okay. So they're not too up in arms.
Yeah. Well, what are your likes and dislikes so far this weekend here at Lone Star Clash 2?
Definitely. I mean, I love the format with, you have your computer the whole time. It's just something that was similar to the GESL I competed in earlier in this year, and they're both really fun. Just because you have that practice time in between matches. Of course, the disadvantage of that is it has to be a smaller tournament. This is only 16 people. You don't get to give everyone a shot. So it feels almost in a position of great privilege to be in a tournament, which is really cool. You don't feel like that with every tournament. As far as disadvantages, I guess the only thing is also that's a disadvantage, is that you don't get the same breadth of players that you would get at a massive DreamHack or MLG or IPL. Of course, that comes with a much more expense as well. And the other disadvantage is, I guess we ran into some time problems. It's running a little bit late. But that's not a big concern at all. I mean, almost every tournament runs into time problems at some point. Things go wrong unexpectedly. Overall, it's an extremely positive experience for me.
Nice. Do you enjoy playing in these smaller tournaments as opposed to bigger ones, MLGs, IPLs, or do you like those bigger events?
I actually, I just like playing no matter what the event. I'm trying to think back on a tournament I didn't enjoy, and I've enjoyed them all. I probably enjoyed these ones slightly more just because I can play between rounds, so I get more StarCraft better. Although in the big events you can still watch the screen, but this you have the option. You can either watch the games that are being played live, or you can get ready to practice, come with some builds for your next round. So I probably slightly prefer these as a player, but as a spectator, the bigger events, there's a little more players going on. So it just kind of, as a player, the smaller events are nicer for sure, I'd say.
Yeah. Also want to get your thoughts on what do you think StarCraft is going to be like, maybe a year from now with Heart of the Swarm, and how do you think that's going to play out with, how how many more tournaments StarCraft is at, how many more smaller tournaments it's at, mixed in with League of Legends, Dota 2, any other games you'd like. What's just your opinion of where it's going in the future?
I mean, I think Heart of the Storm is going to bring a little more activity, but I think it's going to kind of continue a pace of slow growth. I guess I'd say. I mean, there used to be like a year ago it was growing insanely fast. And I think most people are still seeing bigger numbers for some of the events, especially like this year compared to last year. I think all the major events have seen bigger numbers in 2012 than they saw in 2011. I think we're going to continue to see the increase, but I don't think Heart of the Storm is going to radically change the quantity of tournaments or anything like that. I mean, there might be changes, but I think it will be mostly due to leagues and organizations more so than the new release.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Axslav, for doing this interview with me. Would you like to have any final words or shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, big thanks for the Lone Star guys for bringing me in for this tournament. I know there's a tons of people who deserve that spot, and I was glad they picked me for that replacement role. And then, of course, big shout-out to my team, Infinity 7, for helping me out and supporting me, and our sponsors, Steel Series, DeviantArt, C-Motion, GG Well Played.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate the interview.
Of course.